President Wynne, thank you for the invitation to your commencement and the opportunity to address this remarkable group of young scholars you've assembled from all around the world, really quite inspiring. And I congratulate you, the graduates, who are now about to embark on a life of learning with the benefit of the fine education you've received here at Jacobs University. I just participated in our own undergraduate commencement ceremony at UC Berkeley, where I was, as I am today, invigorated by the prospect of young, engaging minds ready to conquer the world. And now, as when I was in your place almost 50 years ago, the opportunities for discoveries are greater than ever. I'm often asked to look into a crystal ball to identify new areas ripe for exploration. But if you were hoping to have such hints, I have none to offer, because it is you, the young minds and future leaders, who will show the way. It's simply not possible to predict the next breakthrough. My favorite example now are the discoveries that led to the breakthrough that you know of as CRISPR-Cas9. Who among us would have guessed the revolution that emerged from basic microbiological studies done in Spain, Canada, Lithuania, Sweden, and in a yogurt company in Denmark? Of course, in the US, we face an administration determined to cut budgets and diminish the influence of science in public policy. But for better or worse, disease knows no political boundaries, and the US Congress has already authorized a substantial increase in this year's biomedical budget, which I believe will continue in the years ahead. I stand before you to proclaim that the state of science around the world is as strong as ever, and no temporary political interference can stop the march of human knowledge of the natural world. We enjoy this privileged position because of the wise investments of governments around the world in support of university and research institute basic science, such as here at Jacobs University. Government funding of basic research in the US started after World War II with the transformative report, Science, Endless Frontiers, written by Vannevar Bush, the science advisor to Presidents Roosevelt and Truman. He wrote, "Scientific progress on a broad front results from the free play of free intellects working on subjects of their own choice in the manner dictated by their curiosity for exploration of the unknown. Freedom of inquiry must be preserved under any plan for government support of science." The fruit of this wise investment in investigator-initiated research has nurtured an expansion of basic sciences, basic studies in the natural sciences here in Europe and in the emerging economies of Asia. At my own institution, to state just a few examples, you may know that the birth of the new developments in cancer immunotherapy started with the discoveries of James Allison, my former colleague at Berkeley, who found a way to unleash the power of T cells to attack tumors. The drug development he pioneered has turned melanoma from a certain death sentence to an increasingly curable disease. Jennifer Doudna, one of our great young colleagues, made a discovery just 5 years ago that brings the tools of genome editing to the treatment of human genetic disease. Many of you can recount similar stories where an investment in basic science has resulted in a direct application to medicine and technology. And yet we find a growing tendency for government to want to manage discovery with expansive so-called strategic science initiatives at the expense of the individual creative exercise we celebrate through your achievements today. Louis Pasteur recognized this tension long before the trend toward managed science. He wrote, "There does not exist a category of science to which one can give the name applied science, There are sciences and the application of science bound together as the fruit of the tree which bears it. In the U.S., we face a new skepticism grounded in the politics of energy and commerce, challenging the consensus view that our climate is influenced by human activity. We must welcome skepticism, but again, the challenge must be on the basis of experiment, observation, and theory, not blind dogma. We hear arguments. We hear arguments that the jury is still out and that we must continue to observe, which is of course true, but the arguments ring hollow when it comes to the application of our knowledge to public policy, and they remind us of the congressional testimony of the executives of the tobacco industry who in 1994 asserted that, quote, cigarettes may cause lung cancer, heart disease, and other problems, but the evidence is not conclusive. Doesn't that sound familiar? Science progresses by the slow and steady accumulation of observation, theory, and experiment. Facts are established only after extensive and sometimes critical evaluation, with opposing sides contesting alternative results and interpretation. 20th century Austrian-born British philosopher of science Karl Popper once wrote, "Science must begin with myths and with the criticism of myths." For Popper, science is unique in its systematic approach to errors and its emphasis on self-correction. Popper was best known for his doctrine of falsifiability, the importance of the testability of a hypothesis. In other words, what distinguishes the scientific method from other methods of investigation is that it is a method of attempting to discover the weaknesses of a theory, to refute or to falsify the theory. Science has nothing to do with the quest for certainty or probability or reliability, wrote Popper. We're not interested in establishing scientific theories as secure or certain or probable. We're only interested in criticizing them and testing them, hoping to find out where we are mistaken. Our knowledge of the age of the earth and of the universe and the principle of biological evolution are solid products of the scientific method, having been established over decades, indeed centuries of investigation. And yet, the scientific method holds that these principles must remain subject to skeptical inquiry and refinement. But the challenges must themselves be based on scientific reasoning and not the dogma of skeptics who would rely on myths from thousands of years ago that are not themselves subject to the scientific method. Such skeptics come and go, but the fruit of human knowledge will remain and advance. We face a determined opposition that would misrepresent the prevailing view of expert scientists, and worse yet, would attempt to expunge from government sources any mention of climate change and cut off funding for continuing to advance the science, even while asserting that the science must continue. But how can it continue without funding or access to the store of knowledge already accumulated by government scientists? Fortunately, your government and the rest of the world have embraced the lessons of climate science. And in the private sector, employment in renewable energy industries is accelerating at a pace far outstripping the fossil fuel industry. We may sustain a temporary setback in the U.S., but the march of progress fueled by the scientific method will advance and ultimately tackle our greatest challenges. And these are the challenges and opportunities that you in your generation now face. And my challenge to you is to go for it. Thank you.